Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're checking out a couple of barrels that come from a company called Master Mods. They're a pretty new company. They make a handful of parts, but their barrels are very, very cool. They offer a unique R-hop design that is practically drop-in and somewhat modular. So we're going to install that today and check out how they perform. For my testing, I decided to pick two AEGs. The first is a Cyma MP5. It's got a few upgrades in it, so it's not the most stock gun in the world, but the barrel and hop-up are still stock. It uses a brass 608 barrel. It's a 229 millimeter barrel, and a black bucking. Really simple, really basic, very stock. Cyma's MP5 line has always performed really well with range, but I wanted to see what kind of consistency and better accuracy we could get with a better R-hopped barrel. The second gun is actually a little bit older, and you probably don't see these very often. It's a classic Army G36K. The gun is about 10 years old. It's barely used, the gearbox has never been opened, and all the internals are stock. I wanted to see what kind of results we could get with an older gun that doesn't have a lot of the newer bells and whistles or upgrades to it. Just swapping out the bucking and barrel and seeing what kind of results we can get. The G36K came with a 363 millimeter barrel. It's brass, it's an M4 length, and it's a 6.08 millimeter inner barrel. The bucking was their basic blue bucking. It's a little bit older. It was a little dry, so I did have to lubricate it a little bit and kind of bring some life back into it. Master Mod's barrels come in a triangular cardboard packaging. The barrels themselves are housed in plastic tubes. The packaging is excellent and definitely will protect your barrel pretty well. Everything needed for installation in most airsoft guns is included in the small baggie. This includes the R-hop rubber ring itself, a VSR compatible bucking, as well as an AEG bucking, both of which do not have a ridge or a bump on the inside. A small brass H-shaped nub, and a rubber O-ring that fits around the groove on the barrel to stabilize it once in the hop-up chamber. The machining and craftsmanship on the barrel is excellent. They are very well made. The end of the barrel is specifically made for the R-hop rubber ring that goes around it. The crowning on the end of the barrel is about 3 millimeters deep and is quite precise. Surprisingly, the barrel has cuts for just about every type of gun: AEG, M14, and VSR. Assembly is pretty simple and straightforward. First, take the rubber R-hop ring and align it over the end of the barrel. You'll want to make sure the groove on top is aligned properly. I used a light layer of Teflon grease over the R-hop ring to make sure it adheres well to the bucking. Next, the bucking can simply slide over the barrel. You don't have to worry about aligning a ridge or a nub. Install the supporting O-ring onto the barrel where it will sit in the notch. Now you can slide the bucking and barrel into your hop-up chamber and then install the C-clip. The brass nub will sit on top of the bucking and under the hop-up arm. You'll want to make sure the barrel alignment and the hop-up look good once installed. I installed the M4 length barrel in my G36 as well with the same process. For almost any gas gun, bolt action, or AEG, the install process is pretty much the same. I used sort of a modular method when testing the barrels. What I did was I had a spare MP5 hop-up chamber and G36 chamber. I installed the new barrel and bucking in each of those, so I was able to rapidly swap out the entire assembly on the field when testing. For testing, I wanted to use ammo that I pretty much always use in the field. Generally, I use just one weighted BB unless I'm sniping or using a DMR, but for all my rifles, I use Elite Force .32 Ram biodegradable BBs. I've had really good luck with those, and they're very consistent. Always get really good accuracy with them. So for testing, I wanted to see what would happen with what I generally use on the field. To test the two Master Mods barrels, I went out to Nighthawk Airsoft. They have quite a bit of room out there, so I was able to test at distances of 100 and 200 feet. For shooting targets, I used what I had on hand out of the field: oil drums and buckets. They're roughly the size of any human target, so I was able to easily see if I could hit a target out of the two ranges. The stock MP5 barrel was decent, but it lacked really good consistency. You could still hit a man-sized target at 100 feet pretty well. The stock hop-up didn't spin BBs quite as consistently as I would like. The stock MP5 hop-up could get the .32 Gram BBs out to 200 feet, but hardly with any accuracy. It took several BBs to hit a man-sized target out of that distance. Swapping over to the Master Mod setup really changed the 100-foot accuracy. I was able to much more consistently hit the bucket, which is essentially a torso, out at 100 feet. The original hop-up can only hit the bucket about 50% of the time. The Master Mod setup hit it nearly every shot at 100 feet. At 200 feet, the bucket, I could definitely not hit every shot, but the drum wasn't a problem. I could definitely hit a man-sized target consistently at 200 feet. The accuracy of the original hop-up for the G36 was pretty decent. At 100 feet, I could hit a man-sized target, but the bucket, not as consistently. At 200 feet, the accuracy was essentially zero. The gun simply couldn't make it out that far. At 100 feet with a Master Mod's barrel, the accuracy definitely did improve. However, I still did have a handful of BBs that did not hit the torso-sized target. At 200 feet, BBs were finally making it to the target. Unfortunately, it did take several BBs to hit the target each time. Full auto is probably the way to go at that distance. The results from the testing of the two barrels was rather interesting. I didn't expect the accuracy for the MP5 to improve that much. I was able to pretty consistently hit the bucket from about 100 feet, more or less every shot. From 200 feet, I did expect a little bit better accuracy, but still the range increase I was rather surprised about. I was able to push past 200 feet very effectively and still hit man-sized targets rather consistently. I was pleasantly surprised though to actually see a 20 FPS boost when I installed the bucking barrel from Master Mods. It was shooting about 360 feet per second with the 2 originally and about 380 after the install. Definitely I did see an improvement in accuracy and consistency with the longer M4 length barrel in the G36. Ultimately, I'm very pleased with both barrels. They did exactly what I hoped they'd do. They gave me a little bit better range and accuracy with a really interesting R-hop design. I'm really curious to actually test these parts out in hotter shooting guns, perhaps a bolt action gun like a VSR-10 or a DMR of sorts. I really think we could get very interesting results from things that are shooting a little bit hotter and using heavier BBs. So it's definitely a future project I want to look into. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Prodigy from Airsoft Team Kilo 23. Big thanks to ICS for sending out all these Master Mods parts. They've been a lot of fun to test out, and the parts are very interesting and innovative. We'll be testing out more Master Mods parts in a video in the very near future. So I'll see you guys in the next review.